everyone. Welcome back to Shit Creek Survivors, the show where we openly share and discuss our stories of getting stuck up shit creek without a paddle, the good, the bad, the ugly, the funny, but more importantly, celebrate how we got out, okay? Now, this week, Dennis and I are going to be reflecting on Randy's episode and Chris's episode and kind of pulling out the bits and pieces that we really appreciated and how much we appreciated them coming on the show. We're also going to discuss in this episode that although some of you may feel alone in moments and you may feel like you're having thoughts that other people don't, you're not. You're not alone. We're just like you, and there's so many people just like you. So let's share those stories, and here we go.
But before we get any further, let's talk about Randy's episode. Because I think it's worth mentioning that Randy's episode is our most viewed episode at this point. So thank you, Randy, for coming on here and sharing your story. Very brave, much appreciated. It's making a huge impact, and I'm hoping that it's empowered you and got you kind of projected like a rocket into the next part of your life. And I feel so great about it. And I got to listen to it all again and again and really go into like the bits and pieces about how she had to break away from what she knew in order to kind of like explore that spiritual side and open that door. And it was amazing listening to how much she felt, how much magic there was behind that door that she didn't even believe would be there. You know, just like embracing it, learning a new skill, and then all of a sudden it working and her being on fire to share it with everybody else. And the fact that she's paying it forward and getting other people to do the same things is, may I say, fucking amazing. Like, it's
and she said
awesome.
she said she got some really good positive feedback on a personal level from some people that she knew. And that has to be another layer of cake, icing on the cake or whatever. She felt good expressing herself and sharing her story. She felt good by getting some good affirmation from people that improved herself, her situation, but also improved their life and their situations. And that's the goal here, right? That's the plan.
100%. And she said people reached out to her that she hadn't even like talked to since before the incident. And now they're reaching out to her because they have more clarification about what the heck happened. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh my gosh, had I known. And then so like, imagine what that's doing like to a person who, like in me, I put people in categories because maybe I thought they didn't show up or did this or did that or, you know, this sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden you find out, shit, they didn't even know that was going on. You know what I mean? Like how clarifying to be like, and like for me, I'm like, oh, maybe there's parts of my life that I need to kind of look at in those ways. Yeah, I'm just super proud of her. I'm glad that it's had a return for her, and I hope that it continues.
That's a good word to put it.
Yeah, and I hope that inspires other people to want to come on the podcast and share their own story and get that liberation and freedom and just get it out in the world and like not care about it as much. Now, we just put out an episode with Chris Ashley, who is a resiliency coach, and I'd like to talk.
Have you released that one?
We have not released that yet.
Okay. No, we just recorded that one last week, but we haven't put it out yet. The one we put out was the one in between interviewing Randy and interviewing Chris.
Let me correct this. So we just last week released Chris's episode. Okay.
Recorded.
And it's really exciting because I wanted to talk about everything we talked about with her because she has such a different perspective, but at the same time, we sort of like landed in the same place in a lot of situations. And I thought that was really cool.
Well, she's the first one that we've talked to that hasn't had a police background or a military background.
Yeah, very true.
But she's also only the second one that we've actually interviewed. We've talked to a few people about interviewing and being on.
So we just released Chris's episode last week. And I just wanted to kind of follow up with you and talk about it because I thought we learned like a whole bunch of neat stuff. And like you were saying, she doesn't come from a first responder background. She doesn't come from, you know, a military background, but she still experienced trauma in her own life. And she was so brave to share the way that arrived in her life. That's such a big piece of her that she was willing to share with us. And I'm so grateful that she did. Because I think it's going to help other people who are maybe struggling.
Well, she's already doing that on her own as well with her own podcast and her book, which I wish I would have looked into her podcast recordings a little bit before we actually interviewed her, because I started looking more and more that we have more time now to look at all the stuff that she put out. And I just feel like she's she's on a very similar trajectory as us. We're trying to talk about trauma and we're trying to talk about healing. We're just trying to talk about it the best way we can with what we know. And she's got a whole different perspective because she comes from a different area of life. But it's still very good information. And
Yeah.
I was happy with it.
I liked how she said, well, first off, she did come from a very powerful place where she was like, we're all badasses. You know, we're all freaking miracles walking around and we forget it every day. You know, I mean, that is true. Like, I am so guilty of like forgetting how blessed I am. You know, I mean, I will see the glass half empty accidentally a lot of the times. And I have to remind myself, no. I'm lucky to even have water in there. You know what I mean? So it's like, so I have to remind myself constantly to like come back to that. But yeah, she was saying.
Well, she had a bit about quantum physics, how there's alternate realities where we all have. Is that what you wanted to go to? You had mentioned that earlier. I don't know.
I basically, but she basically emphasized you got to believe. Magic happens when you start believing and start moving towards the things without worrying about what the rest of the world is doing, right? So like when she finally decided to write her book, it was just kind of like she shot out of a cannon because it was finally time. Everything clicked and she started getting into that flow state and it just started pouring out of her. You know what I mean? But she first had to believe that it was possible. She first had to come up with a goal. She had to put it down on paper and say, this is going to happen. She had to believe it before it could even come into existence, let alone anyone believe that it could. You know what I mean? So she really did a good job of like honing in on like it all starts with you. And you have to be your biggest supporter or fan because it's nobody else's job. You know what I mean? I think we kind of forget that. We look around for confirmation from the world. Am I doing the right thing? And you know, I mean, and all this kind of stuff when we're giving our power away. We should be doing what we believe we should be doing. You know what I mean? Like we believe that based on the experiences we went through, maybe it could help somebody else. You know what I mean? Like we had to believe that before it could even start. And now here we are. Randy's sharing her story. Chris is coming on. You know, we're sharing our stories and slicing bits off of us that we never thought we would in public. You know what I mean? And I feel freer because of it. Now, it did rekindle a little bit of it sometimes talking about it. But now I'm convinced that like those were bits of pieces of energy that were still inside of me that were still waiting to kind of come out. And me having to go through the experience again the way we are is a therapeutic way, but no therapy, especially physical therapy, is free of pain. You know, I was talking to Kate because recently it feels like our family's like on the verge of like this growth. Like it, and I mean so like with Kate's career, I mean so like with what I'm doing, I mean so with like our relationship with Jesus, like we're like right here on this cusp of doing something. We almost feel this energy in the air and it feels like the energy is changing. And it came to me suddenly, I'm like, okay, well, this feels like tension. It feels like energy. Where's it coming from? And then I thought of the idea that right when Kate and I, you know, were projected after I got shot and everything happened, we had to, as a couple, come together, twist and turn, lean into one another so we could both stand up in a way. Okay. We became a structure together. You know, we became stronger together. You know, we had one another, ride or die, no matter what. We just got to hold this position. But with growth and with healing, you don't have to hold that position anymore.
Okay.
You can untangle, but that can be painful. I said that to my therapist yesterday when I was doing therapy. She goes, you mean like physical therapy? And I go, huh? And she goes, you mean like when you hurt your shoulder and you have to keep it in a certain position for a very long time to make sure it heals? Wow. But then eventually you have to go to physical therapy, which is painful. And you'd rather be like, you know what? I'd rather not go through the pain. But when you go through the physical therapy, you're literally being given an arm and a hand back.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You get your mobility back.
Yeah, but it's painful. You have to stretch. You have to get range of movement back. You have to start trusting those bits of your body that you weren't able to trust for a long time. You start putting weight on it. And that's scary when you first put weight on something that was broken.
Yeah.
You know?
You got to build that trust back up with yourself in a sense. That body part again, that ankle.
And with Kate and I, we got so close and she was holding me up for so long. She's almost been traumatized to the point if she isn't holding me up, she's worried.
Okay.
You know what I mean? She's like, this doesn't feel right. Something's not right, you know? And it's actually, we're growing. Like she said last Saturday is my first time working for this charity group that I'm working with now. It's an organization built by first responders and veterans that serves first responders and veterans with PTSD. And last Saturday, so it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm on different golf courses in Atlanta spreading awareness about PTSD. And unfortunately, the amount of people who are losing on a daily basis, if you count first responders and veterans together, it usually averages around 30 individuals a day. We're losing to PTSD related suicide. So we're out there raising awareness and all this kind of stuff. But Kate was home alone for the first time on a Saturday in a very long time. And she said it was one of the weirdest days she experienced because she almost didn't know what to do with herself. She was like, she felt like she was like losing it. And I'm like, it's so weird that this is happening right now because it's like we're growing, but we feel the energy, we feel the pain. There's anxiety in there, but there's also excitement, which are very close if you think about it.
As long as your guys' communication stays open and honest as well.
Yeah.
Because you don't want it to become growing apart and become too separate.
No. It's like seeing the other person growing and high-fiving them as they're doing
exactly.
it. You know what I mean? Like watching my wife fucking walk into an office what should I say? My wife handled a situation lately where typically
she handled it with grace and maturity where sometimes she might not have. Well,
there's situations in life. Let's just say like a job review. A job review is a great example, right? So you have a job review and you go into it expecting something and you walk out not getting what you wanted. But I watched my wife that day. It was just so beautiful to see my wife get to walk into this situation. Let's say again, if it's a job thing, she walks into a job thing and basically was able to verbalize her worth
in a professional way and in
the moment. And regardless of what you tell me I did right or wrong this year, I feel good about myself regardless because I know I played to win. I didn't play not to lose. I played to win. I was in the game. I was moving. I grew. I grew. I like all this kind of stuff. And it's just so neat to see someone you love just like step into a moment where you know what I mean? Where you always saw them and you knew it. And like for a second, they didn't think they could be that. And then all of a sudden you watch them and they turn into like a lion. You know what I mean? But a calm,
realize some potential that was there.
Yeah, like a calm, like lioness. Like I will, you know what I mean? That look, like you can't intimidate them. You know, like it's not going to happen. It's just so beautiful, and it's hard to articulate what I'm trying to say.
I think you're doing well.
I watched my wife in one day just
grow leaps and bounds.
Yeah,
realizing her potential. Yeah, being strong and independent, being powerful, being a rocket ship, doing it the right way. Professional. Courteous,
stone cold,
not letting emotions get the best of the situation and overreacting, reacting poorly or anything like that. That's awesome.
And especially
the best part about it is seeing your face explain it and seeing it in your eyes how happy you are that you got to witness her do this and experience that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the part that's really cool.
Fucking awesome.
I know you love her because I can see it in your face.
I was standing in the driveway. I was cheering as she pulled in. You know what I mean? I got the dog there. We're loving on her. You know what I mean? We're like screaming, "You're a champion." You know what I mean? Like how proud of her we are. Like all this kinds of stuff. Like fucking rock star. You know how God is amazing and just on time, and you know all this kinds of cool stuff. And like living in the moment. And when I'm living in that moment, like right now and yesterday, I'm not thinking about the bullshit that I like creep in my mind, like I'm literally, and it was the craziest thing. It was a situation where it didn't result in the way we thought it would. In a way, it's better, like it wasn't what we thought we wanted. God has better plans for us. And, like it's a great thing. And it's just a beautiful thing when you just kind of, I don't feel like I have my toe in the water anymore. I feel like I'm standing in the water.
Okay.
If that means anything, I'm telling people to come in. Like, I'm less ashamed of myself. Like, I'm less ashamed of, I'm not letting my shame of myself in any way I'm trying to not let it be in any way a part of the relationship with me with God. Because it doesn't.
You're not projecting your fears of the situation or your presumed fears so other people believe or think about you. You're not letting that influence your directions anymore and your decisions anymore. You're feeling the acceptance of the situation you're in. You're feeling the love that you're in, and you're able to be like, hey, this is me. Take it as I am. Come on, the water's fine.
And I
If
just
it's
want to be
not for
like, you
you,
just
that's fine. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I don't. You let go of your ego a little bit. That's what it is.
got to
Your
believe.
fear of what other people think about you, your fear of how other people are going to respond to you. Who cares? Your other people's opinions of you doesn't none of your business. Just be you.
Yeah, you just got to believe. And
Yeah,
like
it's a hard place to get to, but it's great when you get there, isn't it? Freeing.
yeah,
Like the chains just came off. You no longer care about what other people say about you or think about you.
I mean, I'm not perfect, and I know I'm in a moment right now, but it's a good moment. My mom called earlier, and I was bragging on Kate, and I ran into Kate's office, and I put it on speakerphone. I'm like, I'm bragging to my mom about you right now, about how big of a badass you are. And she's like, what are you talking about? And then my mom reiterated how much of a badass she is for doing what she did and standing her ground and doing what she needed to do, and basically setting the tone, like, I'm valuable.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful thing to say. Like when you come on here, even if you're saying I got fucking shot in the face and I drank myself to death almost, and then I bounced back, like you could be proud about that. Like these are real life situations that you're like working through and overcoming and becoming better, and it fucking runs you through the ringer where you think you're gonna die. Like there's been so many times along this route where I'm just like, I just wanted it to be over. I just wanted I don't want to see a future, that kind of thing. Like
You let the negativity. You were letting you were letting the negativity.
And I felt like I was a huge and this is something I'm working with, but like a burden on Kate. I mean, imagine the last 10 years. I lost my job and she's been carrying me basically the whole time. Well, I had to recover from alcoholism. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to basically learn how to do everything again. And she had to teach me the whole time. And then when I went back to drinking, I called her up and I said, I've done it again. I'm so sorry. And she said, all right, what do we do now? And she set the tone for the rest of my life. The rest of my life, just in that moment,
Isn't that amazing?
Just with those words. She's like, okay, what do we do now? And I was like,
no judgment, no harshness, no negativity. She went straight to positivity, and positivity breeds positivity. And that's awesome. And that's amazing, man.
And I was like, I have to go to an AA meeting tonight. And she's like, okay, I'll find one.
That support's hard to come by.
Rock star. Yeah. But anyways, I guess this is still a little fresh from my therapy session yesterday, but it's just a moment.
Let it out. This is authenticity that people like. This being real. People like this kind of stuff where we're just real and you're saying how it is and your feelings come out. There's no shame in that. That's good.
Yeah. Just
be positive about it.
Just don't give up. Don't give up before the miracle happens. Because it's there. Like it's coming. Like God's with you. He's got a plan for you already in place. Like that's a fucked up thing. We're just so impatient and we want to know what the plan is before we agree to go on it.
Well, we are a generation of instant gratification now, aren't we? Or we're living in a time frame where instant gratification is on your phone. You can get an answer right away.
Yeah, and I just realized, and when you have these moments, you kind of realize how, I'm not going to say stupid, but like silly, some of the stuff has been
short-sighted
for sure.
And
wanting immediate satisfaction. You know what I mean? Wanting immediate satisfaction, wanting revenge and all that kind of stuff. And I'm so glad that I never hurt anyone or anything like that along the way. You know what I mean? Because it would have been the worst thing possible. It wouldn't have all had to do with them or anything like that. It would have had to do with me and just not liking where I was in life and fucking taking it out in the world. And I was talking to my therapist. I was like, I just realized, like there's fight and flight. I don't do a lot of flight. I do a lot of fight. And then I come down and I'm like, oh, and I'm just drained from it. And then I usually end up like in a place like this. And I guarantee you people who are listening, they go on those rides too, where it's like, you almost feel like you're crazy because you're going up and down, but there's just so much going on. And anger is related to sadness 100%. You know what I mean? I've said it so many times on here, but it's so true. And I keep catching myself saying it. Like every time I get angry, it's in this effort to feel like I can control the situation, to feel like I will have my vengeance, to feel like,
but it's still under the umbrella of negativity. And it's okay to be sad. Everybody gets sad. It's okay to be angry. Everybody gets angry. But you're going to let that sadness and anger breed into more sadness and more anger and more depression and more negative thoughts and negative actions. Then you're staying under that negative umbrella. You got to get under the positive umbrella and keep rolling with that and let that positivity bring more positivity about. Celebrating your wife's win and celebrating the past that you guys have been together and how your future is going to be shaped because you're going to stay positive with all this. And now you're ankle deep in the water when you were just had a toe in, and you're like, hey, the water feels great. Come on in. I mean, these are all great things. Focus on those positives and keep breeding more positivity with those positives. You're doing great, brother. Man, you are the rock star. You're the freaking rock star.
Yeah, it's just, you feel like a weight on someone's ankle for a long time. To the point you think it makes sense for you to eliminate yourself in situations so they're dragging less weight. And I know people out there, most won't understand that, but that's what happens when
someone will.
When people get lost, like they really start to believe that this world
would be better
place
off without them.
Without them, yeah.
Their family would be better off without them.
But now my problem is I had that near-death experience, so I know it's not just lights out. There's something on the other side. Fuck.
And now you got to live for it. Now you got to live for that. I'm convinced we were put on this earth just to experience every human emotion you can experience. All the happiness and all the sadness, all the goods, all the bads. We're here to experience all those emotions so we'll understand how the next life works better. Somehow this life gets us prepared for it, for whatever happens next.
And we hide from bad things. And then we also think that if we're good,
we want the illusion. We want the illusion of we are perfect beings, we do good, we don't have bad days, we don't make mistakes, we're not.
It falls under almost the same, like when you're OCD and you're like, I need to tap this 3 times and then today will go well. Do you know what I mean? It's like...
So make a list of positive things you're thankful for, say a little prayer, do some yoga and stretching, and in 30 minutes you can start your day with those 3 things and you went to a positive start to the day and that positivity will breed more positivity. But if you wake up going, I'm sore, I hate things that are going on, here's the things that I don't like, you make the list of the things you don't like.
Yeah, anyone out there who's listening, again, if you've had these thoughts, you're not alone. And they're not actually abnormal. So you're not broken if you're having them. It is a sign, though, that maybe you need to talk to someone or just write it down or pray about it or try something.
Try a positive outlet, like exercise or writing it down as a journal or poem or whatever, or artwork or pictures or taking a walk or praying or yoga. Positive outlets to these emotions and these energies.
And if you want to
start inside of a bottle works sometimes, I guess. For us it has, but it's not the right answer. It's a negative answer.
And if you're like me, do it to prove it wrong. Try it. Be like, I'll fucking do it. I'll do it. It won't work. That's how meditation worked for me. I was like, I'll fucking do it. Fine. I'll do it. I'll tell you I did it. Great. And then
that's like saying I increased the weights on my bench press 5 pounds every week and for the last 6 months, and I finally can lift more weight now. But you told me, I'll just try it, but maybe it won't. It probably won't work for me if I just increase the weight I put on the bench. My bench press won't go up, will it?
Yeah, you're wrong. And then you do it. If that's the way you got to do it.
No pain, no gain, right?
Yeah, just like the rehab.
That weightlifting kind of thing. Well, yeah, it's mental too. It's spiritual too.
Yeah.
You're going to go through some pain before you have growth.
And the pain, it's easy to say pain to describe something, and you can apply to so many things. But like when you're healing, a lot of it feels like a battle. Like especially if you're mentally healing, it feels like you're in like a fight, and it doesn't make sense. And you want to avoid it because it's every time you go to it, it's so either intense or, just not pleasant feelings. And you're just like, screw it. I don't want to deal with that.
Well,
what was I
positive.
Saying?
Even when you're feeling like you're a weight on somebody's ankle, slowing them down, you're not. You're worth it. You're worthwhile. You have a purpose in this universe. We don't know what it is yet, but you have to remain positive and keep working towards that ultimate goal of what you are here for in this universe. And that is to bring around more peace and love to all of your friends and family members and to strangers and to other people, and to react in better ways than in negative ways. Have a positive influence on somebody else going through some things that you've gone through.
And those saying,
you're not awake. You're just feeling like awake.
Yeah. So, and those of you listening to this going, well, you don't know how I feel right now. I know exactly how that feels. I know you feel like your situation is different from everybody else's, and it is. It is your story. But we can go through trauma together regardless of, we don't have to compare the traumas. We just have to just not give up and just keep going. That is being resilient, is just moving and getting to the next moment. And
the only comparison about the trauma that anybody should be having is your trauma made you feel a certain way. My trauma made me feel a certain way. Somebody else's trauma made them feel a certain way. And all those feelings that we had of how they made us feel, negative, depressed, sad, anxious, angry, all the negative umbrella thoughts are all similar, regardless of whether your trauma is from being shot in the face or being on deployment or sexual assault or death in the family, whatever the things are. The feelings that you have, the reactions that you have are similar. And that's the only comparison we're trying to make. How you got there isn't the important part. You are there. You feel negative. You feel like a weight on somebody's ankle. We understand how that feels. We felt that way before, and we're trying to say there's a light at the end of the tunnel if you try to make positive directions and start taking one step further in the right direction for positive outlets and positive emotions and positive reactions. Peace, hope, and love.
And if you're struggling with PTSD, we did set up the resource. It's PTSD support. .org. Make sure you put that in. And what we've done is put the 6 different ways I personally got better in different categories. And you can kind of pick one that might work for you and try it. If it doesn't work, try another one, like that sort of stuff. But we're not the only resource. Just keep looking and keep asking questions. And yeah, and we'll be here for you the entire ride through. And if you want to come on the show and you got something to say, that's great. Or if you know someone else's story that you think should be shared, it could be a historical figure, it could be anyone. If you want us to share that story, you think it has worth exposing,
come share it. If you're feeling the pull on your heart to share it, come share it. Let's talk about it.
100%. And I look forward to moving into new guests and getting more perspective on what's going on, more tools for the tool belt. As usual, you can check us out online. Check us out at !T Creek Survivors on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook at SHT Survivors. Everyone got a clear exposure to what it was like being, in a car. Conversations can get going. You don't know where they're going to end up. Today, you saw a person with PTSD go through a little moment like me, but you don't have to have PTSD to be so happy and excited about how things are going on in your life. And if you're not there right now, I know it feels like it's not going to happen to you. I didn't think it was going to happen to me. It has happened to me. So again, don't quit until the miracle happens. Follow us on social media and Facebook and Instagram, SHT Creek Survivors. You can look us up on YouTube and Spotify at !T Creek Survivors, and or follow me personally, Cameron.McKay.368 on Facebook and Instagram. Send us your stories to shitcreekpodcast at gmail.com, and check out our website, www.shitcreeksurvivors.com. Kaufman, it was a random episode, but I feel like we got some good stuff down. So you have anything cool to say? Any
my
words
only
of
tidbit
advice?
that I wanted to throw out today that I thought about today when I was at the chiropractor getting my adjustments and stuff. During normal conversations, I'm talking about how people misunderstand each other sometimes. And I think it's just important to point it out. Sometimes somebody's intentions and your perceptions of their intentions don't line up. And so just examine that when you're telling a story or sorry about the technical difficulties there. My phone died on me. I was just trying to say I had a thought while I was at the chiropractor about how sometimes there's misunderstanding in communications. And it can be because the intent of the communicator and the perception of the person hearing the communication don't always line up. So like you got to remember how your intention is you're trying to tell a story or tell a point to somebody. Be aware of the idea that they may not have the same perception as you to perceive the information you're trying to share with them. Same thing as if you're hearing somebody's message and you don't agree with it, and it strikes a chord in your heart that you don't agree with for some reason. That doesn't mean that their intent was that. Their intent may have been the opposite of that. So try to examine their intent of the message too, and so you can line up how your perception of their intent to be on the same page as them, and you'll understand their message a little bit better, even if they're talking about something you don't agree with or you don't believe in.
Right.
I think it's an important concept to kind of try to take into your daily life. Think about somebody's intent and think about your perceived intent to their messages, and then try to see how it is from both sides and understand the message as best you can.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And like, think, is this an error in communication? This isn't an error in opinion or what's right or wrong. This is somehow communication. I've been able to deliver what my original thought was to you effectively enough that you understand where I'm coming from. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because a lot of times you can dismiss the other person and be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And then really they just have no idea what you're talking about because you didn't give them the bits and pieces that you're also working with. You know what I mean? So yeah, failure in communication is
every op order, every after action review from any training scenario or actual operation scenario. What's the number one thing that everybody can ever say is something that could be improved on? Communication is one of the number one after action review things you can ever bring up. Communication can always be better. So the only way to make it better is to try to examine the intent of the message and make sure your perceived intent is on line with what the actual intent was.
Right.
Something somebody could say sounds like a compliment, but is really being condescending and talking down to you, even though they're trying to say, oh, yeah, your hair looks really good today. But the tone of their voice, their intent wasn't to be nice to you. Their intent was to put you down. This is a very obvious example. Look for the little subtleties in really important communication with other people that are coming from a different angle than you are. Is their intent to bring something out in you, or is their intent to piss you off, or is their intent to try to inform something to you, or whatever? What's their intent? Is their intent to make me feel bad, or is their intent to make me feel good? Because you're making me feel bad, so I need to get my perception in line with your intent. I was feeling bad by the message, but I know you weren't trying to make me feel bad. So now I got to get my mind right and go, you're not saying it the way I would want you to say it, but I understand that you're trying to say something nice. So I'm going to accept it as nice. You know what I'm saying? And you get where I'm going with this. So make sure your perception of the intent is lined up with the true intent of the message. And everything that you're doing, when you go to work, when you're talking to strangers, road rage, all that kind of stuff. Don't take things personal unless it's meant to be personal.
Especially, like, one of the things I think I have to remember sometimes is text message is a very primitive way of communicating. Yes. And you can read words with tones that were never intended to be there.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a great point. And that's a hard one to, I mean, the only thing you do then is like, did you mean that as a slight? Did you mean to insult me with that one?
Right.
Because there is no tone of voice in a text message. Is exactly right.
But you just have to kind of understand, okay, this is a text message. I'm right.
Well, that's when every time you're texting to somebody about something serious, at least I do, I go, let's just talk on the phone, because this is getting really serious. And I don't know that we're on the same intentional platforms here.
Right. Yeah.
Let's talk online or on the phone and get off the text messages and see if we make sure we're clear. Same thing with emails. Emails and text messages are both just written messages. I think text messages is even worse because you try to do as little as possible.
Yeah.
And others even just acronyms, LOLs.
And especially if there's like tension between you and I, and now we're talking through text, I'm putting that tension into the conversation. Do you know what I mean? Like when I'm interpreting the words, I'm like, oh.
This is exactly my point. Was my intention to make you feel that angry still? You don't know that.
No. Yeah.
Make sure you get your perception of my intention lined up with what my true intention was. And then we will have more effective communication back.
I think we're getting better at it, you and I.
Absolutely. Well, we've always been pretty good at it. That, and to end on what you said earlier, if anybody's feeling like a weight on an ankle and you don't have anybody to talk to, please reach out to us.
Yeah.
Somebody.
Absolutely.
Talk to a buddy on the phone. Reach out. Don't do it alone. Let's get that weight off your ankle. You're not a weight.
Something recently that it takes about 8 minutes to get out of that dark place if you reach out to somebody. It's about 8 minutes on the phone. If you can just talk to someone that you know, don't even have to talk about the specific thing or anything like that. Just communicate with a person.
Yeah.
Just contact a person. You don't have to talk about it, and like feel that vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It will help you because we're actually programmed, I believe, to be people of community. You know what I mean? We're meant to be social. We're meant to support one another, but we tend to hide our problems and all that kind of stuff. So we got your back. That's the whole point of this whole thing, right?
Exactly.
I mean, let's get better together. Don't you go giving up on me. Don't you go giving up on Dennis. Don't you go giving up on yourself. Hang in there, and we'll see you in 1 week. No big deal. Check us out online in the meantime, okay?
All right. Peace out, brother.
All right, love you, buddy.
Bye.